Rain lashed the windows of the Xavier Institute, warping the neon lights that flickered in the distance. Inside Charles Xavier's office, the air was thick with unease. The iconic wheelchair sat by the towering desk, gleaming slightly in the moonlight. Charles' hands steepled beneath his chin, his eyes distant but sharp, a mind always at work, but now newly shadowed. For years, Charles had been the beacon of hope for mutants and humans alike, forever striving for coexistence, harmony, and peace, but the dream had started to rot from the inside. The world outside grew increasingly hostile. Mutant children snatched off the streets. Anti-mutant legislation spreading like rot. Headlines painting Xavier and his students as threats instead of children, no adults searching for a place to belong. He replayed the latest news report in his mind's eye. Fiery protests erupting beside footage of mutants shielding themselves from bullets and jeering crowds. The system hadn't changed. The world, it seemed, refused to listen unless forced to. Tonight, as his team gathered in the war room, they sensed the shift. Scott Summers, John Gray, Logan, their faces illuminated by computer monitors and uncertainty. Charles' voice was measured as he addressed them. "Our dream is crumbling," he began, his tone grave. "The time for gentle negotiation has passed." Logan's brows shot up. "You saying we go on the offensive, Chuck?" Charles' gaze was steel. "I'm saying we seize control of our destiny, no longer making pleas but demands. We possess power unmatched by humanity. Why should we ask for scraps when we have the means to forge a new world order?" A long silence stretched between them. Jean's telepathic presence brushed his mind, sorrowful, cautious. Scott clenched his fists, every fiber resisting this new rhetoric. "Charles," Scott said, "there's still hope. If we become tyrants, we lose everything that made us different." Charles regarded his former pupil with a sad, almost parental smile. "Hope is a luxury we can no longer afford." From that night, Xavier was changed. His public face remained composed, reassuring. Mutants across the globe sent messages of support. After his latest speech, one tinged not with hope, but with warning. "Mutants will endure," he said on worldwide broadcast, "and we will not bow." But in private, his mind operations expanded outward. No longer restricted, he linked more frequently with Cerebro, amplifying his abilities. With a mere thought, he could nudge politicians into decisions, cloud surveillance systems, and quell riotous crowds into docile silence. It was for the greater good, he told himself. If the world would not accept mutants, he would mold it until it could. Rogue and Storm noticed the subtle shifts first. Orders given in Charles' voice, but cold, clipped, final. Staff who disagreed quietly departed, only to find their memories scrubbed, their determination sapped and replaced with a weary resignation. The dream became a mission, one neatly organized under Xavier's increasingly heavy gaze. What began as careful manipulation blossomed into psychic dominance. World leaders found themselves faltering during peace summits, suddenly eager to sign the mutant amnesty accords. The media, in unison, sang the praises of mutant kind as public sentiment swung, unnaturally fast, toward acceptance. It was Logan who first confronted Charles. He burst into the study, claw sheathed, ready for words, not blood. "This ain't you, old man. You're scared like the rest of us, but this—" He gestured broadly at the grim news, the empty halls, the locked doors. Charles' eyes glowed faintly with psychic light. "I have done what was needed." Logan shook his head. "At what cost?" "You're turning into the thing you always warned us about." Charles' voice was icy, absolute. "I warned you about the consequences of inaction. If my methods disturb you, you may go. But the new age will arrive with, or without your consent. Elsewhere." Magneto, always Charles' counterpoint, watched the tide turn. For decades, he had described Charles as naive, but there was a note of alarm in his voice as he gathered his own followers. "He has become what he once abhorred," Magneto proclaimed. "And when a mind as powerful as Xavier's decides freedom is an obstacle, none are truly safe." Within weeks, the world order shifted. Mutant strongholds flourished, cities rendered docile by Charles' omnipresent mind. Resistance movements withered, unable to coordinate in the face of his mentally sown confusion and despair. But Jean Grey, whose mind had grown alongside Charles, refused to kneel. "You taught us love and mercy," she confronted him alone, her thoughts shielded. Charles tried to breach her defenses, to reason with her, then to dominate. But where he found discipline, Sha met him with wildfire. You made us free, she said, and I will remain free even from you. The psychic battle that followed shook the mansion to its foundations, echoing across the world as the greatest minds of the mutant generation clashed, order against will, control against conviction. In the end, it was not strength that won, but love Jiang using the last vestiges of the teachings Charles had given her to reach the part of him still haunted by what he'd become. The world would remember the night Xavier's mind blanketed the globe. Some saw monsters in the darkness, others a stern guardian. When the fog lifted, Xavier was gone, his mind exiled. The Institute shuddered. Yet the lesson remained burned upon every consciousness. In striving to save a world that hated him, Charles nearly became its very worst nightmare. And so, the dream endured scarred, but alive in those who remembered who Charles Xavier once was, and whom, with courage, he might someday be again.